Hey, everybody, and welcome to a special and hopefully fully functional Point North Live. I'm Alistair Stevens, and those of you who were in the mystery class last week may have encountered some technical difficulties, by which you all encountered some catastrophic technical difficulties because the internet broke. It broke bad, you guys. So this is my first venture into live streaming since then. Things were obviously delayed because of the 4th of July extended celebration holiday weekend thing that you have here in the United States. So this is by means of a test, a tire kicking for my new broadcast setup here in the Common Room Radio Studios in Oklahoma City. But also, this is a platform by which I can make some very special announcements, about some upcoming Point North projects. It is great to have you all here. It is great that this seems to be working and the stream seems to be of higher quality than usual, which is, I got to tell you, just very exciting, honestly. I'm still kind of tweaking things. I'm still kind of getting things set up just to make it as good as it can possibly be. But hopefully, not only will the broadcast video be of higher quality now, but it will be much, much more reliable. These are good things, I assure you. These are good things. So what we're going to do, I'm going to run through some brief announcements and some clarifications and some scheduling information. We're going to talk a little about the things that I have planned that I'm going to announce this evening. And then I guess we can just hang out and do a little Q&A. This is kind of informal. If you're not a Patreon supporter over at patreon.com/pointnorthmedia, then you probably haven't done one of these before. But this is what I do every Friday. I will just start the live stream and take questions and talk about whatever crosses my mind for about an hour. It's a really fun thing. It's basically the highlight of my week. I should say right up front, too, this is not There and Back Again. This is not the next episode of There and Back Again. That will be next week. I've had to postpone my entire live broadcast schedule this week by an entire week, but we'll talk more about that in just a moment. It is great to have everyone here. We've got Lynette and I've got to say, Gilad Rebecki and Glorfin David, both excellent names, both excellent names. I'm very glad to have you here in the YouTube chat. Yes, this is wonderful. New background, says Gilad Rebecki. Basically, this is the other side of the studio. We generally have in the past used this side of the studio for shows that require more than one person, but honestly, it's just a little nicer than the mantle, I think. I'm realizing that my camera is perhaps a little askew, but you know what? That is tomorrow's problem. That is a problem for future Alistair. He can take care of that. But yes, the part of the studio where I normally broadcast is on my right now. But this allows me to tweak the lighting a little bit and is honestly just a better setup for most things. So this is probably where I'm going to be broadcasting from now on. Hope says, Alistair, I need to know how you feel about Scottish Twitter. Scottish Twitter is delightful. Scottish Twitter is also not really Scottish Twitter. If you haven't seen Scottish Twitter is a delightful kind of subsect of the primary Twitter community. It is a retweet loop where very, very Scottish things are retweeted, usually very vulgar proclamations in a broad Scots accent are retweeted. I like it a great deal. It does remind me of being home, but it isn't the complete encapsulation of the Scottish experience, because that kind of bombastic, joyful vulgarity is primarily, I think, a Glasgow thing and an Aberdeen thing. And the geography of Scotland can basically be divided into 4 cities. And these 4 cities basically form the corners of a square. In the northeast, you have Aberdeen, and in the southwest, you have Glasgow. And Aberdeen and Glasgow are both formerly industrial cities, and things there are hard, let me tell you. But then in the southeastern corner, you have Edinburgh, and in the northwestern corner, you have Inverness. And those are much more literate, literate is the wrong word, much more literary, much more artistic, much more softly spoken communities. And to believe that Scottish Twitter is only one half of that dynamic, I think is slightly misrepresentative, but it is completely delightful. I grew up in the Northeast and spent a lot of time in Aberdeen, so believe me, I know about bombastic vulgarity. Yes, it's very important, says Hope. Yes. Oh, Hope, I hope you're not referring to the camera being slightly askew. Let me see if I can't tweak that ever so slightly. Here we go. Perhaps that's better. I hope so. I don't have to worry about an audio recording for tonight, because everything that I'm about to say tonight is about to be published to Point North anyway. It's going to go up on the pointnorthmedia.com website. So none of these announcements are going to be siloed away in Twitter or siloed away in the podcast. There will be a blog post kind of encapsulating all of this. But because I wanted to do the test, and honestly, because I've been working frantically all day, today has been a fantastically busy day. And I feel like I've really moved forward with a number of projects that have been on the back burner for some time, including some really important scheduling. So we will get to all of that. No, not the camera, says Hope. Well, okay, but now the camera's better too, so that's fine. Billy Connolly Scottish or Ewan McGregor Scottish, says Di. That's actually very good. That's actually Yes, that's kind of the encapsulation. And you can tell which part of Scotland you're in by how nasal the quality of the voice is. If you go down to Glasgow, you're going to get a lot of that. You're going to get like a lot of like flat vowel sounds and like a lot of nose going on there. But then if you go over to Edinburgh, you're going to get a much more rounded and mellow sound, and that's going to be just lovely. Of course, I'm excluding the Highlands from this altogether because the Highlands are a culture and a community unto themselves. I am not one of these people, I think. There is a tendency, I think, in the perception of Scotland to distill Scotland down to just the Highlands. And while I understand the appeal of that, there is a lot to love about particularly the southeast, particularly Edinburgh, Lothian, Fife, Perthshire. It's beautiful, beautiful country. And of course, I will fly the flag for the northeast too. I grew up in the middle of Murrayshire in a little town called Elgin, which is just beautiful. Elgin is an ancient borough, technically a city because it has a cathedral, but it is smaller than pretty much any city that you'll go to here in the United States. But it is just delightful, and a lot of excellent Scotch. One of the great things about Murrayshire is the Spey River flows right through it, and the Spey Scotches are particularly good. The Spey single malts I recommend very highly. Okay. Oh, Galadra Becky asks, what is your native Scottish accent? You sound almost American. My native Scottish accent has faded over the years because I moved around a lot when I was a child. My stepfather was in the Royal Air Force, and I was posted from place to place to place, lived in a couple of different places in Scotland, lived in Germany for a while in my formative years. And so and spent that time hanging out with both English kids and American kids, particularly in Germany. So my accent was never terribly strong by the time that I ascended into my manhood. But if I were to replicate the original dialect that I had, it is a little more nasally. It's like, you know, you're there in Murray and you're there hanging out in Elgin, and you might go down to Birkhead and that'll be fine. But, you know, you'll go down to Lossie because that's where the good ice cream is, and you'll go hang out there, and that's lovely. And they've got the nice wee beach there, the nice wee sandy beach. No, the rocky beach that you get out at Rose Isle, but like the nice wee sandy beach at Lossie, that's the place. So that's kind of closer. So you can see now why I don't necessarily lean into that as hard as I might. Let me see. Okay. Let me get to it. We're just chatting about Scots. This is lovely. Okay, let's get into the announcements. And I want to begin by showing you, actually, I want to begin by checking to see if one of the things that I'm going to announce is actually announceable yet. It is not. I'll announce it anyway. You guys can just, you know, pick up, but we'll do that at the end just to give it as much of an opportunity as we can. I want to begin then by taking a look at the Point North broadcast calendar. If you visit pointnorth.com and click the podcasts button, you will see embedded on that page the calendar. You can subscribe to that calendar in advance, and you can get notifications even, I think, a half hour, an hour, 4 hours a day before every single one of the live broadcasts and podcast releases. Here you can see everything that I have planned for the month of July, and I've also added everything to the live schedule for the month of August too. And the more perspicacious among you might notice that we have formalized our broadcast times here. I wanted to bounce around a little bit. I wanted to move the shows to different parts of the day, to different times, so that they were amenable to people in different time zones, basically. Because my preferred broadcasting time is 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, but that is very, very late for people in Europe and wildly inconvenient for people on the West Coast, oftentimes, who have to deal with getting home from work and children's bedtimes and so on and so forth. So I wanted to move around, and I've done some in the morning. I've gone as early as, I think, 10 a.m., and I've gone, you know, a noon slot and a 2 slot and a 4 slot, and those are all fine, but moving things around that much has been problematic, and people are finding it difficult to keep up with the schedule. So firstly, you can always find the schedule. Go to pointnorthmedia.com, click on the podcasts button. You will see this calendar right there, and this is always updated. If something happens, I go immediately to the calendar to update it. So you will always get the latest notifications from that calendar. So if you don't do Twitter, if you aren't subscribed to the email updates, then you can still visit there and make sure that the show that you think is going to happen is going to happen. That you can see there, 9 p.m. Eastern time, Point North live announcements on my screen. Even though I'm in the Central time zone, this calendar is synced to the Eastern time zone. Hey, you guys, time zones are really confusing and stupid, but there you go. So you will see that on Monday, we're beginning the first session of the critical reading class. If you haven't yet registered for that, I think I maybe have 1 spot left. Head on over to pointnorthmedia.com and click the button there to get to the critical reading class and register. This is a 4-week class in which I'm going to teach everyone who takes the class how to read critically and analytically and deeply, and how to deconstruct metaphor and theme, and basically to do all the things that I do here at Point North. If you can't take part in the live class, then it will be available as a downloadable packet afterward, so don't miss that. Then on Tuesday at 3 p.m., we're going to have Storms on the Way, episode 20 for chapters 13 and 14. I'm going to talk a little about Storms on the Way now, I guess, because Storms on the Way is an absolutely delightful show. I have really enjoyed digging into the TV show, and I have enjoyed far more digging into the book. Neil Gaiman's prose throughout American Gods has been nothing but luminous. I have thoroughly enjoyed a careful, analytical, critical reading of Storms on the Way. But it has kind of expanded, and what was supposed to be like an 11-week project is now entering, well, probably I can do the math here, week 12 already, and it is going to be a 17-week process by the time that it is done. So this next week, next Tuesday, we're going to pick up the pace with Storms on the Way, and we're going to start covering 2 chapters per week. I have expanded the session length there from 90 minutes to 2 hours, which will make that a little easier. We're still going to be moving a little more rapidly than we have been, but that's kind of okay with American Gods because of the way that the plot accelerates toward the climax. We have done a lot of world building. We have established innumerable characters at this point and innumerable minor conflicts, and we are now ready to start paying those off. So as the book accelerates, we are going to accelerate in our coverage of the book. We are going to run 4 more sessions over on Storms on the Way, 5 more sessions, in fact, 4 more on the novel, and then a special bonus session on the 2 short stories which Neil Gaiman wrote, which pick up after the events of the novel. So stay tuned to Storms on the Way on Tuesday for that. Next Wednesday, I am running the repeat of my Lies and Locked Doors How and Why to Write Mystery Fiction class. As I said at the beginning of the session, last week's broadcast of that class was a disaster. I persevered for about a half an hour, during which we had just awful video, audio, technical problems, just terrible bandwidth problems. The slides worked, much to my surprise and delight. I was astonished that that was the case, but the live video was just terrible. It wasn't the kind of class that I wanted to run, and it made interacting with everyone almost impossible. So that is going to be rescheduled to next Wednesday. If you are a registered student in the Lies and Locked Doors class, you will receive an email about that this evening or first thing tomorrow morning, just kind of clarifying the new time structure. If you haven't registered for that class, I think that registration is now closed, but you'll be able to pick that up as a downloadable class after the fact too. And then let me call up my slide again here. Not a slide, this is just actually my web browser that's on my other monitor. Just parting the curtain there for you. You'll also be able to see that next Thursday at 3 p.m. we have There and Back Again, episode 24, in which we cover chapter 11 of the Fellowship of the Ring. And then on Friday, the Point North Live Patreon Q&A, also at 3 p.m. So everything next week is going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. That's how it's going to work next week, besides the classes. The classes are going to happen in the evening because that's the most accessible time for those people who have signed up for the classes, and that's how that works. But everything else, all the regular live sessions will take place at 3 p.m. Then the following week, they will take place at 9 p.m. The week after, they will take place at 3 p.m., and so on and so forth. That should be manageable. That should be sustainable. That should be something that is easy to predict. And as I say, you've got the entire thing laid out here, all the way down to, in fact, the 4th of August, where you can see the Storms on the Way special session there to cover the short stories. So all of that can be found, as I said, at pointnorthmedia.com, and click on the podcasts button up at the top. That is pretty much it for the kind of regular scheduling announcements, because I do think that I just moved everything around, and now everything is in a super weird place, you guys. So I'm doing my best to stay on top of everything here. So everything is now going to be a little more predictable, going to be a little more sustainable, and you guys should be able to track it a little more readily. Let me dive back into the YouTube chat here to make sure that I haven't missed anything. Oh, YouTube hasn't scrolled for me. Okay, here we go. Are we talking about my pronunciation of the word Wednesday? Yes. Most Wodnish, says Karen Ruff. Yes, that is, there are a few elements of my Scottish accent, which I haven't lost. There are a few pronunciation things, schedule, privacy, aluminium, things like that, the expected things. But apparently it is odd that I stress the D in Wednesday. That is a 3-syllable word for me. So yes, Wednesday. Right, good. Let me see here. Noon on the West Coast, says Jackie. Good. Yes, hopefully that will work out for everyone. That's what I'm hoping, is that West Coast folks will hit lunchtime kind of around there. So yeah. Kate asks, are the American Gods short stories on? Oh, the short stories. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. If you stay tuned to Storms on the Way next week, I'm going to start including links to them in the show notes for the podcast. So yeah, I'm going to start talking about that a little next week. Good. The calendar is so tiny on my iPhone, says Melissa. I'm so sorry. That does suck. Kate suggests downloading the Google Calendar app. You can do that if there is a way of subscribing to I think what I'll probably do on the podcasts page, I will add some instructions underneath the calendar for subscribing to the calendar in your podcast app of choice, because it does have an iCal API that you can plug into whatever calendar program you're using on your iPhone, and you can subscribe to it through Google Calendar. There are ways of doing it that will make it a little more accessible. And as I say, then you can set up those little notifications that will beep to let you know that you have half an hour into the live show. Even if the live show has moved and you haven't noticed, you'll get that little notification. Good. Jackie says, my husband says I sound like I'm from Boston occasionally. I've definitely never been there. Well, firstly, Jackie, I hear great things about Boston, and you should definitely go. But I'm curious about what qualities of your speech indicate that you're from Boston. Because when I think of Boston, I only really think of that super flat sound that you get, the oftentimes derided pa kika at Harvard Yard thing. I can't do a Boston accent. I definitely can't. Okay. Chelsea asks here in the YouTube chat, offering me a perfect segue, giving me a natural opportunity to move on to my next topic. Did I miss what the narrative beat is that's scheduled in August? Let me tell you about that, Chelsea, and in fact, everyone. This is my new writing podcast. This is the narrative beat. This, I should say, is placeholder art. I was working on art for the narrative beat all day and couldn't find the right art. So this is definitely placeholder, but this is my new show. I've been wanting to talk more about writing basically ever since I stopped doing The Journeyman Writer with Storywonk. That is a show that I love. It is a format that I love. And what I want to do with the narrative beat is expand our focus. So we're not just going to talk about writing, but we're going to, as it says on the slide there, talk about writing, storytelling, publishing, and more. We are going to talk about the craft and the art and the business of being a creative person. We're going to talk about the opportunities for creativity which the internet affords us. We're going to talk about new publishing and distribution platforms. We're going to talk about the disintermediation of these powerful publishing gatekeepers that are keeping great books from the public. We're going to talk about all of that. And as you see there on the slide, new episodes will be released on Mondays and Fridays beginning August the 7th. This is going to start basically as soon as American Gods wraps up. So I'm going to do a Monday and Friday show. They're probably, I think, going to be a little longer than the Journeyman Writer shows used to be. I'm not going to hold myself quite so strictly to that 5 to 10 minute slot. They're probably going to run 10 to 15 minutes, but I also want to build space into the narrative beat for interviews where I can talk to writers and agents and publishers and webcomic artists and other creative professionals. I want to talk about creativity in its broadest sense, while also, of course, still talking about writing and talking about the basic principles of storytelling. That is such a love of mine. It is a part of my job, my professional engagement, my professional commitment, which I absolutely adore, though I should say, I suppose, in all honesty, that I am blessed that I adore most of the parts of my professional obligation and my work here. So this is going to be, as I say, a brand new show, kind of in the tradition of The Journeyman Writer, but with some new energy and some new breadth and hopefully some new depth too. If you have questions for the narrative beat, I will be setting up a custom email address for that. I haven't done so yet, but if you used to listen to The Journeyman Writer and you have questions about narrative craft and you have questions about act structure and you have questions about dialogue and character and conflict and all of these things, or if you have questions about publishing, if you have questions about writing screenplays or writing comic scripts, get in touch and let me know. Right now, just email pointnorthmedia@gmail.com and I will get those. If you can include a narrative beat in the subject line, that would be fantastic. But I will set up a custom questions at something for that in the near future. These things all take time, you guys, and time, it turns out, is a horribly limited resource. Melissa is asking, sounds amazing. Are you published anywhere, Alistair? I am actually not. I am guilty of that fundamental sin which afflicts many, many writers, which is that I have a ton of unfinished and unpublished manuscript. I actually have a couple of finished manuscripts which are still unpublished. My approach to narrative craft and storytelling has always been a little more academically inclined. I have been a critic and an analyst of story more so in the recent years than I have been a creator of story. I have published some short stories online and little bits and pieces here and there. And I think that my love of writing and my for it, honestly, comes out in a lot of the work that I do here at Point North, the work that I have done in the past at Storywonk. It's surprising, I think, how much creativity is involved when you are analyzing and breaking down stories, particularly when you get into those discussions, as I do so often on Excelsior, the podcast that I do with Vinton Bain and Sarah Kate Pizant over at Common Room Radio. So often we'll get into these circular conversations about fixing stories. And that takes not just a real understanding of the narrative form, real understanding of the narrative craft, but also a fountainhead of creativity to kind of direct in the right direction, to take those existing pieces and do something good with them. We had a long conversation after we watched Suicide Squad recently, which, you guys, is not a good movie, but does have within it the elements, I think, of a really good movie. And you can distill those and polish those and perfect those. But yes, let me see. Galadra Becky says here in the YouTube chat, I just need a son named Christopher to publish all of my unfinished works. That's exactly it. I just need stacks of manuscript pages, just bound. And what I'll do, just to make it completely fair, is to spread them out all over the country. I'll just write incredibly long and detailed and verbose and eloquent letters to individuals all over the country, all over the world, and trust that my son will collate them. As Glorfin David says, until he's 93 at least. It is heartbreaking to me that Baron and Luthien, which in fact I believe you can see on the shelf behind me right now, is probably going to be the last of Tolkien's books. It really is the end of an era. I said kind of inadvertently when I was talking about this on a recent There and Back Again session, I mentioned that this is kind of like the elves going into the West. This is kind of like the departure of magic from Middle Earth. There will be no more Tolkien after this. There will be no more of these wonderful stories, no more of this luminous poetry, no more of this evocative and epic and grandiose prose. It's going to be done. And that is a troubling thought. I feel as though I am wrestling with my own mortality thinking about that than I generally do. So yes, it's going to be really tough. Oh, Angela says she really enjoyed the Suicide Squad episode of Excelsior. I'm so glad. Thank you so much. We don't generally like doing things on Excelsior that we don't like, that we don't love. I think that snark is easy, and critiquing bad movies, particularly movies as calamitously, disastrously bad as Suicide Squad, is kind of like shooting fish in a barrel. But it is fun to kind of take a breath and then do that for a little while. I should say, by the way, for those of you who listen to Excelsior, which, as I say, you can find over at commonroomradio.com or at ExcelsiorCast on Twitter, we are all going to watch Spider-Man Homecoming tomorrow morning. Sarah Vinton and I are all going to go and watch it tomorrow morning. Then we are coming right here to the studio to record that episode, and I think there's a very good chance that that episode will be released early. So if you are eager for our thoughts on Spider-Man Homecoming, and I can't wait to see Spider-Man Homecoming, that will happen tomorrow. Yeah, good. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, let me move on here, because that is not the only thing that I am announcing. Those of you who have been sticking around for that, the narrative beat is not the only thing that I am announcing. Those of you who have been listening for the last few months, particularly to the Point North Live Q&As, the Patreon exclusive shows that I do every Friday, will have heard me talking about the return of Dear Mr. Potter as soon as Storms on the Way is over. So when the narrative beat begins on August 7th, it will be followed immediately by the return of Dear Mr. Potter on August 8th. That's right, we are launching ourselves into The Prisoner of Azkaban on August 8th, 2017. This is going to be a 12-part series. We are going to do wait, is that right? Yes, a 12-part series. We're going to, I just scheduled this today, so it is fresh in the mind, apparently. We are going to do 11 sessions on the book. We're going to cover 2 chapters at a time to get through that book in somewhat expedient and yet still deep and thorough fashion. And then we're going to do a final session on the movie. So that is going to be a 12-week series starting on August 8th, 2017. You can hang out with that. You can read along with us. You can listen to it after the fact. You can take part in the live YouTube chats. And one of the things that I want to do And this is actually true more broadly than just for Dear Mr. Potter. But one of the things that I would really like to do is create a more kind of discursive atmosphere here at Point North. And I think that one of the ways that I can do that is by holding roundtable Google Hangout sessions. And I think probably I'm going to do this within the next month, and I'm probably going to do it at the end of the Fellowship of the Ring. So we have 2 more chapters of the Fellowship of the Ring to cover in There and Back Again. And then what I want to do is kind of open this format up so that those of you who want to talk about the Fellowship of the Ring can do so that you can call me here in the Google Hangout. You can just have your laptop, you can have your phone, you can have whatever technical apparatus you require. You can call me and we can actually talk about this thing, and then we'll take the audio of that and release that in the podcast feed. I think that these roundtable discussions, they're going to be completely unstructured. It's going to be more like a kind of, I suppose the atmosphere that I'm going for is like a cross between talk radio and NPR, like just the best, nerdiest talk radio call-in show you've ever heard in your life, where instead of people calling in to ask what Senator X is doing right now, instead we get, but really, what was going on with Celebrimbor? What is his deal? Why is Rivendell so special? And why is Rivendell on the western side of the Misty Mountains? What is up with the One Ring? And hey, can we talk about Tom Bombadil's fashion sense? That is something that I really want to do in There and Back Again, and also something that I want to expand into the other live shows, because the YouTube chat is great, but even here I have 55 people watching live right now, and the YouTube chat is moving so swiftly that I can miss things very, very easily. Jackie's saying, like the Tolkien Professor. Yes, Corey Olsen, the Tolkien Professor, much beloved and esteemed as well he should be. In fact, I think I don't actually have his book behind me on the shelf, but I do have it, I think, on the shelf over there. Corey Olsen is fantastic and has done that kind of thing in the past. I think in part with the Silmarillion Seminar, he did that, and also he did way back in the day. I mean, if you were listening to the Tolkien Professor podcast back in 2008, 2009, he did some Q&A sessions, which I think were orchestrated through Skype. So kind of like that, but with a more kind of roundtable discursive format. So that would be a really great opportunity for those of you who are confident about speaking in public, and those of you who would like to discuss Tolkien or Harry Potter or probably American Gods. We'll probably do one of these right at the end of Storms on the Way too. That's going to be a great opportunity for you all to really get involved and hang out. It's going to be fun. And of course, while those will be broadcast live, there will also be an edit to the audio version. So I promise that if you come on, you'll be able to retract anything that you might have said accidentally after the fact. We'll definitely get through that. Okay. Let me catch up. Oh, yes. Eric is just asking, can we do one of those for American Gods also? Yes. I think we definitely can. We can do that thing. Jackie Bowman says, Tom Bombadil is colorblind. And Kate says, but will we have to talk in those subdued voices like NPR? Yes, we will definitely have to adopt our NPR intonation. We will have to lower our voices and pretend that there is some small mammal here in the studio, which may be easily startled, and then introduce flute music from Finland. That, I think, is, I'm paraphrasing badly a Parks and Rec joke there, but it's a good Parks and Rec joke anyway. All right, is that it? Yes, I think that is going to cover it for the actual announcements. If you guys have any questions, then by all means, shout out. Skipa's here. Great to have you with us, Skipa. Thank you so much for joining us. I know it is very, very late where you are. Excellent. Yes, all of this information will be available on pointnorthmedia.com after the fact. I will also just give you guys a sneak peek. Let me refresh. This is live broadcasting, you guys. I am refreshing a page to see if this design is available. It is not yet. Okay, here's the thing. Keep an eye on the Point North Media Twitter, because I made a stupid new t-shirt. I made a dumb new t-shirt that you can buy if you want to. If you don't, then I will never hold it against you. But I think I'm going to, because what I made, the dumb thing that I made is this. Let me share this with you. This is a brand new There and Back Again t-shirt that I'm publishing through TeePublic, which is the t-shirt company that I used for the Elves, Sir, There and Back Again t-shirt. This is the Ring on It t-shirt. Here you can see some Tengwar script. This is the Elven Quenya script, I guess, not just Quenya, originally Quenya script, but this is Elven script in this circle on the front of the t-shirt that you can get in any color. And the text, for those of you who don't have a high enough resolution to see it, says, the Ring on It t-shirt in the Second Age, Sauron crafted the One Ring. Upon it, in the runes of the elves, he inscribed words of ancient power. If you liked it, then you should have put a ring on it. This is the actual inscription of the Beyonce Single Ladies song. I told you it was a dumb thing. I'm not, defending it, but it's there. It exists. So if you want it, you can get it. I do ridiculous things sometimes on the internet. All right. Anyway, if we have any questions, circles in Illustrator are not fun, says Jackie. No, that took a little time to do it. Yeah, that took a little time to do it. So if you want that, yes, it's available, and t-shirts and hoodies and all whatever. Yes. Oh, Angela's asking Babylon 5. I had to ask. Yes. Basically, what I'm thinking, Angela, is that the roundtable hangout format that I just discussed for as an adjunct to the primary live sessions, that is actually the format that I'm thinking of for something like Firefly. Something like Firefly. Excuse me. I don't need to do a Firefly show. Mighty Fine Shindig, available now at commonroomradio.com. It's a fantastic show. Not for Firefly, but for Babylon 5 or for Farscape, which is the show that I was just thinking of. I think like a roundtable conversational format might work really well for those shows. So it's here, it's right here on the back burner. It's it's not in front of my monitor, but it is immediately behind my monitor, and I'm thinking about it always, particularly particularly after recent losses. Hope is asking, video games, Alistair, video games, man. Hope, I believe that when I conclude this live show, I will actually be recording some video game content that will go up on either the Point North Media or the Common Room Radio YouTube channels, possibly both. Sarah Cade Pezant, who I adore and mentioned previously, is coming over this evening with her laptop, and we are going to play, I believe, some Torchlight 2, point-and-click, grindy Diablo clone. Hope, can you give me a video games with Sarah, please, says Anna. Yes, it's happening. It's happening tonight, you guys. I mean, I'll need to edit the video and put it up. We're not going to live stream just yet because I don't think that our broadcast capabilities are quite there yet, but I'm working on it. So yes. Hope, can you give me the, I wish I had it now, but I don't. What is it? It's very simple. It is, in fact, 8bitch.org. 8, the number 8, bitch.org. This is Hope's new video game blog, and it is really, really good. There's only one post up there so far, which is about Diablo 3 and grinding. I completely love Hope. She is a magnificent writer about video games. If you are interested, I urge you to check it out. And also, Hope, by the way, fantastic name for your blog. That's so good. That is 8bitch, the number 8, bitch.org. Definitely check that out. All right. Vinton is here in the YouTube chat and says, I finally started watching American Gods this week and I've now watched 7 episodes and listened to the podcast on episode 1. I finally made the plunge. What Vinton doesn't tell you is that he started watching American Gods yesterday, I believe. Was that yesterday? No, maybe Tuesday. Maybe Tuesday. Okay, I'm not sure, but yes. It's been recent, yes. Oh, Eric says it was the dawn of the third age of podcasting. Nice, Babylon 5 poll. It is our last best hope for podcast. Anna says, also still holding out for WoW streaming. Yeah, no, this is really a test. This is really just, we're going to record some Torchlight so that we can just really get our dynamic working and get OBS set up and all the technical back end, get all of that taken care of. And then, yes, it is my intention to actually live stream. We'll launch a Twitch channel and live stream over there, though trying to get attention on Twitch right now is very, very difficult. Yes. Good. Let me see as I catch up. Yeah, Hope says is dead. Hope is lovely and terrific. And I look forward to meeting you, Hope, at DragonCon in Atlanta in August. End of August? Labor Day weekend? Is that the end of August? American holidays, you guys? I don't know. Okay. That, I think, then, will probably do it, unless you guys, Vin says that he can't remember either. That's excellent. Good. I'm glad it's not just me. All right, oh, and Fringe. Fringe, yes. Who suggested Fringe? Angela said Farscape would be great, too. Oh, 2082 Pat says Twin Peaks. I am so far behind with Twin Peaks. I haven't seen any of the new series. I think that probably at this point, what I want to do is do it properly. I think that what I'd really like to do is go back to Twin Peaks, and once the return is complete, watch it all in order and podcast about it. And what I'm thinking about for Twin Peaks, because Twin Peaks is such a challenging text and it is so deep, I'm leaning toward, and by all means offer me, feedback on this. If you guys have preferences about this, then by all means let me know. But I'm thinking about a kind of story and Star Wars style lecture-based approach to Twin Peaks rather than a more conversational beat by beat recap approach to Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks is a very dense show, and I would like to do it justice in that sense. So that's certainly something that I'm thinking about. And I should say, too, that Melissa says, since we're shouting out questions, story in Star Wars, yes, there will be some time It will probably be the last week of July because I need to get it done before I wrap up Storms on the Way and certainly before I begin the 2 new podcasts. So sometime within the next 3 weeks, there will be the Rogue One Part 2 lecture. And then probably the middle of August, I think we're going to set, I did make a note of this. Let me call up my notes here. Sometime in the middle of August, it is probably going to be Saturday the 19th of August, my notes tell me, will be the all-day Star Wars marathon live stream, live tweet. If you guys haven't heard me talk about this before, this is what I'm planning. I'm planning on getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, putting a New Hope into my DVD player and live tweeting it. And then Empire, and then Jedi, and then Phantom, and then Clones, and then Sith, and then probably Force Awakens, but I might take a break and do Rogue One too. I'm not sure that I like Rogue One in the established order, in the established canon, as much as I love that movie. So, but either way, it will be a full day. I think it works out to something like 16 hours. It's crazy, but we're going to do that thing. It is going to be an all-day live tweet of Star Wars, and I hope that you will join me. But don't worry, there will be lots of time in advance of that to make our plans. Let me see. Vin says I'll guest on a Twin Peaks show anytime. Well, in that case, let me announce my new Twin Peaks podcast, which I will be doing with Vinton Bain, who is magnificent and is a great mind, a great wit, and a great heart, all wrapped up in one good-looking man. Just a good-looking man. Thank you, Vinton. We'll definitely do something. That would be fantastic. Yes. Jackie says, wow, that's quite the day. It really is. Yes, it really is. I mean, I'm thinking about the Clone Wars animated movie, and I'm thinking about, including Rogue One too, but I think probably just the 7 core movies right now will be enough. I think that will probably do us, but that's going to be really a test for this kind of marathon format. What I'd basically like to do is do one of these like every 6 months. I'd like to do like a summer and a winter all-day live tweet marathon. Obviously, the Lord of the Rings extended edition marathon is going to happen very, very soon, and I don't know, maybe the entire Phase 1 Marvel live tweet is going to happen very, very soon. That's what, 6 movies? I think that could be really fun. Just do those movies back to back to back to back to back. That would be great. All right. Laura has showed up. Laura is asking, did I miss There and Back Again? No, There and Back Again this week. I'm sorry, Laura. We are kicking the broadcast platform here at Point North Media. So this is by means of a test which I'm glad to say has been completely successful. I don't think that anyone has had any dropped video. I don't think that anything has broken. Oh, Jackie's asking, how about them animated Star Wars shows? Definitely yes. I haven't seen as much Rebels as I would like. I have watched, I think, the first 2 seasons of Clone Wars, which is excellent. And Rebels is certainly, I just want to finish Clone Wars before I watch it. They're very, very good, and I'm very into that. And that, I think, is probably going to be the future of story in Star Wars. What I'd like to do is maybe every month, maybe every 6 weeks, that kind of time frame, do a lecture about the season of the TV show. So do 1 lecture on the first season of Clone Wars and so on and so forth. That, I think, will allow me to talk about that narrative at a high level, but I can also skip over the parts which are somewhat less successful and focus on the good. I think that'll really work. Good. Very well lit today, says Leslie Skipa. Excellent. No pixelation or loss of sound, says Kate. Quite a step up from last time. You guys, I am so glad. It has been a fight. It has been an uphill struggle to make this whole thing work, but I'm glad that it is working now. Shane asks, would the Star Wars series take longer to watch than the Lord of the Rings movies? Yes. It works out that in aggregate, each Star Wars movie is 2 hours long. So it's a 14-hour engagement. It actually works out because you want to take some breaks and kind of start at the top of the hour. I think it's 16 or 17 hours to watch all 7 episodes back to back. The extended cuts, I think, come in at like 13 hours. So it's close, but yeah. Okay, good. I think that is going to do it. All right. John Sanchez says, what about the holiday special? No. Well, no. Maybe at the holidays, though. Actually, at the holidays, that would be really, really fun. If we did, the holiday special is still available on YouTube, right? We could do a synchronized, not even like a synchronized live tweet, but I could gather some close friends here in the studio and we could do our own, Mystery Science Theater 3000, do a riff tracks on this thing as everyone is watching it live. That could be technically challenging and doomed to failure, but still fun nonetheless. So yeah, stay tuned for that too. I think if we're going to do the holiday special, we should do it at the holidays, certainly. That, I think, is going to do the holiday special is really ugly, said Guild Arts Winters. Absolutely right. Skeep is asking, what about travel plans, i.e. the house on the rock? Nothing in place yet. Soon. Definitely October. if not before October, then definitely in October. We have, firm plans to venture north then. So if you don't hear anything about it before then it will definitely happen then. I wish I could be more specific, Skipa. I know that your schedule is difficult to pin down with any kind of accuracy, but yes, that's definitely what we'll try and do. All right. What if you include The Hobbit, says Jackie. Do it, please. Okay, so if we include The Hobbit, the extended editions are not as long. What is it, 11 hours? For the extended editions of The Hobbit? Probably not even that long. Maybe 10 hours for the extended edition of The Hobbit. I mean, we're looking at a 24-hour live stream, Jackie. Is that what you want? Is that what you want? Because we could do that thing. Not a live stream, I guess, a live tweet, but we could do that thing. That could be fun. We'd need Hobbit-like beverages to sustain us through that long journey. Actually, what we'd need, I think, is a cocktail for each individual movie. We would need a Fellowship of the Ring and a Two Towers and a Return of the King, and then an Unexpected Journey and a Desolation of Smaug. I couldn't even remember the name of the second Hobbit movie, you guys. And then the Battle of the Five Armies. We'd need like a different cocktail for each one. And actually, we should do that for Star Wars too. You guys, I'm going to need a tame bartender. If you know a tame bartender, send him over to me. That's at Point North Media on Twitter. Let's do this thing. All right, I'm going to wrap this up because I've pushed my luck about as far as I can go. Guys, thank you all so much for being here this evening. Thank you all so much for your support of Point North. To recap, for those of you who missed it, we are moving to a more predictable broadcast schedule. Things are going to happen at 3 p.m. Eastern or at 9 p.m. Eastern, and those are pretty much the times. You can always find out the times by going on over to pointnorthmedia.com and clicking the podcasts button. The next 2 months, I am not kidding, 2 months of shows are already there, except for the one-shots, because I haven't yet picked which texts I'm going to be covering for the one-shots, but there will be a couple of one-shots thrown in there too. But as soon as I know, then they'll be added to the list too. I will also edit that page to include some instructions on how to subscribe to that calendar in your calendaring software, because that really is just the most infallible way, or the least fallible way, of getting out notifications and reminders to everyone. So no more live streams this week. There won't be a live session. Well, there wouldn't be a live session anyway, I guess. The next live session is next Tuesday for Storms on the Way. If you have registered for the Lies and Locked Doors mystery class, check your email this evening or first thing tomorrow morning. If you have registered for the critical reading class, then check your email, because you should already have received instructions. If you haven't, then you'll get, I guess, an update on those instructions tomorrow morning to include the new calendaring stuff too. We have a brand new writing show coming out. The Narrative Beat begins on August 7th. That is going to be a 15-minute show, Mondays and Fridays, all about writing and storytelling and the business of being a creative professional. That's going to be fantastic, so send in your questions for that. And then, of course, most importantly, Season 3 of Dear Mr. Potter, covering The Prisoner of Azkaban, begins on August 8th. 2017. I cannot wait for that. I just watched the movie again. I love this story. This is my favorite Harry Potter book, and I cannot wait to talk about it in great depth with all of you. And now you can hear my voice giving up, because this is what happens when you don't podcast for a week. You guys, thank you all so much. I will talk to you all again very soon. If you ever have any questions, by the way, you can find me on Twitter at Point North Media, or you can email me directly, pointnorthmedia@gmail.com, or you can use the contact form over at pointnorthmedia.com. Really, you can get in touch with me any way you like. Smoke signals, a telegram, a pigeon. I won't know what to do with a pigeon, and we'll probably shoo it off the porch and then go back to working, but it's worth a shot, I guess. All right. Thank you all so much. I will talk to you all again very soon. Take care.